There is a sixth dimension beyond that which is known to man. A multiverse as vast as eternity, as timeless as the Infinity Gems. It is the middle ground between the big two and the indie publishers, between sci-fi and mysticism, and it lies between the pages of the reader's imagination. At the summit of entertainment, the dimension of comics, where a humble service is held. We call this service the Gospel of Comics.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, the Church of Failure, and with me, as always, my trusty co-host, Ayrton McCartney. Thought I was muted. I wasn't. You're not gonna get me. You're not gonna get me today.
So far,
Not yet. So, also with us today. Well, how are you doing today, buddy? I should ask.
oh, pretty good. Had a long day. Played this morning. Dealt with the government stealing an hour of my sleep. Took my dog to the dog park.
I've always had a problem with that. However, Mr. Don Chen is joining us once again today in the digital studio. Thank you and welcome, Mr. Don Chen. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing really good, guys. Good to be here back again.
Well, I was really excited to have you back on because first off, we wanted to talk about Parody Press. I discovered some more titles put out by the same publishing company that was responsible for Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters, and I was unaware of these, and I was a little upset that I was unaware of these. But then there's something that
a lot. Of
what now? Sorry,
I said we did a lot of parodies.
Yeah, and some of them were really ridiculous. I love them so much. But then something happened that unfortunately we're not going to be able to get too far into. But I'm gonna pull it up. We're gonna look at a clip on Twitter that Mr. Don Chen has nothing to do with. He has no control over my show. He does not condone my actions in any way, shape, or form. But I'm gonna drop this link in our side chat real quick over on Skype, so everybody will have it. And when everybody gets it set up, we'll take a look at this clip, and we will simply not really comment on it. How's that, guys? Because
You are a crafty
EJ Morges is finishing up.
No, Mr. Van Skyver, calm down. just you guys let me know when you're ready. I am at all zeros on this video.
I'm ready.
Everybody,
I'm ready, man.
all right. Again, Mr. Chen has nothing to do with this. He does not condone my actions. He in fact is staring at me with dagger-like eyes. So, here we go. I'm going to hit play right now.
EJ Morges is finishing up Cyberfrog Numb, and we've been talking about this for a little while. We're going to get him started on it. You tell me what you think about this interesting thing: Cyberfrog versus adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters. We've got this going on right now. Look at.
I'm going to pause it at 23 seconds. Did he just say Ayrton, Mr. Chen? I don't expect you to comment, but
I heard him say something.
He just said Cyberfrog versus adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters. Now, we didn't necessarily suggest this.
That's what I heard, but we could be wrong.
We didn't suggest this, but I think we did bring up Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. I think we did posit the possibility of some kind of team up in that nature. I think
that's possible.
That our overwhelming support of the adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters over the last year of shows has brought this into being, and I am prepared and welcoming of all credit that may come from this. It was solely my doing through sheer force of will, right? But
it's good juju, definitely.
Let's finish it up. We're at 23 seconds.
Look at his sketches of the hamsters. Look at them. They look fucking awesome.
I like the one with the Cyclops visor.
Yes. Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters is one of the best loved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ripoffs of the late 80s, early 90s. We got it. We're going to do a crossover with them. And
Wow.
it's going to take place like in 2018. So these guys are going to have survived the Vespus invasion. And it's going to be kind of fun. EJ draws great rodents. They just look terrific.
Who's the owner of that property?
It's Dynamite Comics, of course. Don Chin created them, and they.
That's a shout out to Mr. Don Chin from the one and only Caesar himself. But
Yes.
let's just take a minute to comment on Caesar's wardrobe. That's been a hot topic on Twitter lately. How about that hoodie? How about that red polka dot strawberry shortcake hoodie he's wearing? Is that not fantastic?
I kind of want one.
He looks like an abominable snowman. I love him so much. Anyway. Oh, he looked like Chubby Guerrero, like Che Guerrero's chubby cousin the other day. It was great. I
saw that.
I love his wardrobe so much. And War Campaign has a whole new thing where they dox his outfit. Like they put up the clothes that he's wearing and where you can buy them. Anyway,
Because of course they do.
I think we've got about 23 seconds left, so we'll finish this up right now.
Don Chin reached out. He said we wanted to do a crossover with the Hamsters and Cyberfrog, and I said, okay, let's do it. So it's going to be fun. I think it'll be a one shot. It could be a one shot or a 4-issue mini, but I'm not sure what I want to do yet.
That looks great.
Yeah, I look at them.
All right, that's about it. I want it already. Like I need this right now. I need this project immediately in my hands. I need to be reading it. I'm going to cancel the show so that I can read it. Like, let's just get to the point.
Work on a time machine.
I need this, and I need to confirm that I'm going to try and get you back on when you can comment on this further.
Of course.
So that's that was the thing that I wanted to bring up. I was gonna wait until the end of the show, but I'm impatient and was so excited about that I just kind of had to be giddy about it live on air. I alluded to it a little bit yesterday on the show with Saiton and Room Knight from Archetype Comics and their indie book, The Executioner. If you guys are not familiar with that, go check out the show from yesterday. The links for the mailing list are in the description of that show, and you can follow Archetype Comics on Twitter. Just a real cheap plug there. But last time I had you on, we were talking about Galactic Rodents Mayhem, and we were talking about, I forget exactly which, we were talking about Clint, right? The mini-series
yes.
of Clint. And we've made several Wilhelmina Fisk jokes since our last interview.
Oh, really?
And oh yeah, she's become a very staple of our lore. I think we even dropped a reference last night, but
I believe we did.
I wanted to have you back on because while we've spent a lot of time talking about the hamsters, we haven't really delved into the full meat of everything else that you did and helped bring life to. So I kind of just wanted to open with that and just let you start off the conversation. And as we go, I'm sure Ayrton and I will have questions and interruptions and bad jokes galore.
Yeah. So yeah, so I kind of got my feet wet in comics back in the 80s, when I was a little high school punk. I did some self-publishing, but I really wanted to to work for Mad or Cracked magazine, which were two newsstand distributed humor titles back in the day. And I actually got my first published work with Cracked, I think like in 1984. I graduated high school like in 81, and I kept on submitting to Cracked, and they finally accepted my, a couple of my scripts, and they did basically just one-page gag cartoons with that title. So that was in like 84, and then I started going to college, and in like my senior year of college, that's when the hamsters came into being. I was just kind of doodling in a biology class, and I had owned a comic book store at the time.
Well,
and
that first title that you had the one page features with, what was the name of that again? The Crag?
That Cracked magazine.
Cracked magazine, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're published anymore. I think they might be under cracked.com, which is like a humor site. But it was kind of like the ugly sister to Mad Magazine, It was pretty good. I mean, they had some decent artists like John Severin. He did a lot of Marvel titles. He was the main cover artist and normally did the main story in that in Cracked. So I think Cracked number 200 was the very first thing I had published in my career. That wasn't my own self-published title, which before that, my friends and I did an independent, kind of an underground comic book here in Northern California called Overload. And Overload, the first 3 issues were, kind of our proving ground with me and Parsonovich. And then after that, we got picked up for distribution from a comic book distributor called Bud Plant. So our 4th and 5th issues of Overload were actually distributed to like comic book stores back in the 80s. But we were really green, back in the day. We just published thousands of these books thinking they were gonna sell, but we didn't realize, you have to have a distributor, otherwise you'll be stuck with boxes of these comic books that you thought everybody wanted, but really didn't want. So I kind of learned, got my feet wet into publishing that way, and my dad backed my endeavor up, and I'm sure he took a big loss on it. But I learned a lot about advertising and self-promotion that way, and how the comic book distribution system works. You have to send these comic book distributors a packet of what your comic book's going to look like before you publish it. And you want to have a nice mock-up of what the actual cover is going to be like. So then the distributors will take that artwork and they'll promote it. Like Diamond Comics, I think, is the biggest, maybe the only one remaining now out of like what used to be almost 20 different independent comic book distributors back in the 80s and 90s. But
right.
anyways,
we've actually railed on Diamond Distribution, and that might be something to bring up a little bit later if we have a little time. But I've always kind of looked at Diamond Distribution as the problem with the modern comic book, with modern comic books in general. And the reason I say that is because there's no accountability on Marvel and DC if they put out a subpar product. They just ship it to Diamond. Diamond ships it to the retailer. The retailer doesn't know for 3 months what the book's going to look like even. But they have to order it in advance and assume, and then there's no returnability. So honestly, they've taken liability and accountability out of the hand of the actual publisher, or not the publisher, but the actual imprint, and shifted it to the retailers, and that's why we're losing retailers left and right. But that's just my particular outlook on it. But
okay, I haven't published anything since 2007, so it's probably changed quite a bit. But even back then, in 2007 and 8, we did Bill Mouse and I reunited for a parody of Heroes, that NBC superhero TV show they did back in the the early 2000s with
Right, yeah.
yeah, with Masioka and I don't know. I don't remember the rest of the guys, but it was pretty good for a couple seasons. Then it kind of got a little bit weird.
Right. Season
But
one
anyways,
was the best, and it kind of just fell off after that until season 4, but it was too late.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. That's a quick. I see that's the cover of this show. All right. So, anyways, the what was I saying? Distribution. Yeah. So, anyways, we kind of just.
What was the name of the Heroes parody you guys were working on?
It was called Hewoes, Hewoes, and it was fun. It was very Mad Magazine like. It had kind of that gray toned look that the movie parodies in Mad Magazine had. So I think out of everything that Parody Press ever did, and that was the last Parody Press book that Bill and I worked on, that was the most Mad Magazine-esque one of all. All the other ones that we might be talking about tonight were kind of their own animal. Like we would spoof, a lot of Image books, which we try to make it look like Todd McFarlane or Eric Larson drew it. We had like embossed covers that looked like the ones that Image would do. And like Meadowlark is one that was a spoof of Shadowhawk back in the 90s. And Shadowhawk had, when it came out, it was by Jim Valentino, and it had this striking jet black cover, and then it had the mask of Shadowhawk kind of embossed with silver and red on it. And so by embossed, it was actually raised, out of cardstock and molded. So it looked kind of 3D-ish from the shelf. And so Shadowhawk was kind of like a poor man's Batman character that Valentino did. So we did Meadowlark, which was, instead of like the mask of the hero, it was like a basketball with a mask on it, because it was a Meadowlark Lemon from the Harlem Globetrotters. So and
okay, I see it now.
He was a basketball throwing vengeance-filled superhero. So you might be able to find that on eBay, or the cover image if you Google it, and you can if you put Shadowhawk number 1 and Meadowlark number 1 side by side.
Well, I've been trying to race you as you've been explaining these and finding them and throwing them up for the audience as well.
Oh, cool.
MyComicShop.com has the whole list of Parody Press, and they actually have some of them in stock.
Oh, good. Yeah, some of them are out of print, and I was really amazed. We did a spoof of the Max. My friend Sam Keith, who worked on the Hamsters for like 3 or 4 issues, he went on to bigger and better things, and he co-created Sandman with Neil Gaiman right after he did his run on Hamsters. And then after that, he went independent and he did the Max, which was a pretty big Image title for a while. And then the Max got picked up by MTV as an animated series. And then you may have heard, I think Channing Tatum is trying to do a Max live action movie.
I actually never knew there was an animated series of the Max. It was one of those characters that I was just like, I like the Hulk better. Sorry.
That's all right.
No, I never knew that the Max was an actual TV show. Like, that kind of blows my mind. Because around that time, because Batman the animated series had ended, X-Men the animated series and Spider-Man the animated series had kind of gone off the air. And Static Shock was still on Saturday morning cartoons, but around that time frame, our age bracket was kind of starting to age out of child stuff and getting into the young adult stuff like The Simpsons and stuff like that. So The Tick was one of the only TV shows, animated shows, whatever you do, that appealed to that demographic. If I would have known about the Max, it might have been a different experience for me as a young adult. I might have read those books.
Mm-hmm. I remember Max and Sam, and I was really happy for him that he could do his own thing, because he was getting work after he left Sandman. He would do covers for like Marvel and DC, like Wolverine and Batman. And there's just on Facebook, if you are huge. If you're a Sam Keith fan, there's like a dedicated fan group for him that's about 1,500 people strong, and I'm in there. And the dedication of these guys to Sam's work is just incredible. You just see them post, original artwork that they've purchased of him, and their Max books and their Max statues and stuff. And so I mentioned, I just joined the group maybe 5 or 6 months ago, and I mentioned, I used to work with Sam, and we did the hamsters, and we also did a parody of the Max called the Tax, which was TAXX, and it was like if the Max was an accountant in Australia, Australian outback. He was like a CPA, and he had to go out to the wilderness and do people's taxes, but it was kind of sketchy. So me and Bill Mouse and another guy named Mike Taylor did this spoof back in the 90s. I think 93. We did the Tax, and we did an ash can version. It was really psychedelic looking. You might be able to find the cover image of that on on my comic shop, and I think they're sold out because I just looked. But I kept on getting these messages from these Sam Keith fans saying, "Do you have a copy of the Tax? I've been looking for the ash can forever." And we only did a very small print run on them. I think maybe less than 5,000 copies, which if not even that, which is pretty small. Right. So so I went online on eBay because I've been selling a lot of my collectibles on eBay lately just to kind of make more room in my house. But I looked up the Tax, and someone had an ash can edition of it that was graded like a CGC is the comics grading, firm that will, take your comics and inspect them and then slab them in plastic and, and put a 1 to 10, grade on it. I saw a 9.6 issue of the ash can sold for like $375. Just like in the last couple month or so. If you go on eBay now and you look up the Tax, you'll see that it's sold. I went, wow, that's like probably one of the most expensive Parody Press comics I've seen resold is that one. There's been some there's been some graded hamsters out there that have maybe been in the $200 range, like maybe number one. That's like a 9.8. I don't think there's any 10.0 hamster books I've seen hit that.
One thing that I've always pointed out to people that talk about grading comics is that it's very difficult to get a 10.0. You very rarely get a book off the press at a 10.0.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen very, very few, but I've been going through my collection, and I sent off maybe a couple dozen books in the last year to get graded, and they're a lot stricter than I'm used to. But I did resell like an Avengers annual number 10 for a couple $100 in the last couple weeks, and then I've got a lot of old Marvels and DCs that I'm trying to just kind of make my money back on. But anyways, where were we? I'm talking about
there's one title here that I have to bring up because Ayrton knows just how much we love Rob Liefeld on this channel. Just how near and dear Mr. Liefeld is to our hearts. We hold no malice for Mr. Liefeld whatsoever, but we do have to talk about Brigade.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, I had fun with did I write Brigade? I don't think I wrote Brigade. I did Old Blood, which was a young blood spoof, but they were all geriatric heroes.
Oh, well, we'll pull that
one up. I wrote that one, and Brigade was like, I think they were like the most arrogant superhero team ever. But Old Blood was the one that I wrote.
That's fantastic. Spitting image. I like the spitting image corner box. Now were all of these except the hamsters like one shots?
Yeah. Well, we did let's see what warranted it.
It looks like you did your annual swimsuit special twice, 3 years apart.
Yeah, that one. I was kind of told at the time by an entertainment attorney that you can, once is fair game, but if you keep doing it, you might get a call from Marvel. And actually, we did get a letter from Marvel to cease and desist the pummeler. We did the pun. If you can pull that one up, that's actually a really funny cover by Sam Keith. That was one of my favorite Parody Press titles, was the pummeler, because we had a lot of name brand talent on it, like Mike Barron. He did, Nexus and the Badger, and he did work for.
I love that.
Is he shooting cute animals out of his gun?
Yeah.
Pummeler kills small furry things.
Yeah. You have to pick that one up. If you ever want to go through and do an analyzation of that book, I would love to do it. And who knows, we might be able to get.
Oh, most definitely.
He is hilarious. But they've got Ty Templeton did the back cover on that. And in fact, you could probably, if you say pummeler, Ty Templeton, if you Google that, you'll see the image of the back cover on that. And if you can pull it up and share it with your clients or the viewers.
Yes, these guys, my clients.
I'm in real estate mode. I did some work today. But anyway, front and back covers of those just kind of give you a taste of
Is it the
what's
black
on
and
the
white?
inside.
Is it the black and white piece where he's shooting the squirrel, and the squirrel also has a gun?
That's the black. Yeah, that's the black and white piece, and there's a color one out there too. But that's the gist of just kind of our take on the Punisher. So we did Pummeler. That was the very first one. That one sold really well. I think we sold like 30,000 copies of it. And then
wow.
And then after that, we did like Pummeler $2,099.
Yeah, that was the next one I was going to pull up.
After we did that, I think Marvel started, their attorneys they weren't too thrilled.
So please tell me you have the cease and desist letter framed.
Have it. I wish I think I peed a little and I got scared.
Well, we've got the spoof of Ravage here, Rummage.
That was a three-part series we did, and if you put all three covers together, they all created like a huge collage. It was kind of cool. It was
also all the $2,099 ones.
Man, Rummage, and Pummeler all tie in together into one story arc, and all the covers interconnect.
Oh, that's cool.
And they're cheap. I mean, you can still probably find them for cover price online on My Comic Shop or whatnot. But
I know where my tax return money's going to.
So we on the Image stuff, what was kind of funny at the time, like all the Old Blood and Sewage Dragoon and instead of Spawn, we did Yawn. You kept on falling asleep.
There's also a Young Bloods parody, Young Broads.
Yes, we did Young Broads. Yeah.
I'm not going to let you sneak past that one.
I'm not proud of the TNA era of Parody Press, but anyways, the letterer for a lot of our books when we started was Kurt Hathaway, and Kurt actually did. Our first parody that we did under Parody Press was the Unfunny Ex-Cons. That was back in like 92. And the Ex-Cons,
that sounds hilarious.
We did 3 different covers. There was like the Kirby era cover, which was a spoof of X-Men #1. And then we did a spoof of the famous X-Men 94 where, they revamped the...
There were 5 covers in total of that book.
Yeah, I think there were 3 or 4 or 5. I'm not sure, but we kind of took advantage of that collector mentality. Everybody wanted a #1, and then all the publishers were saying, "Well, let's do like a one 1A, 1B, 1C, and so that book sold really good. And then after that book came out, my wife and I said, let's forget this job of me selling copiers, 9 to 5. Let's go into publishing. So she was our graphics person, and she did a lot of the typesetting for our books. But thankfully, Kurt Hathaway, who I met during Eclipse, the Eclipse run on the Hamsters, he was also working at Image at the time we decided to do Parody Press. So he would take a lot of the Image logos that he worked on and tweak them to be the ones that we needed, like Sewage Dragoon. It looks just like Savage Dragon, and Old Blood looks like Young Blood. So we actually had an inside guy at Image, and a few of our books were ghost inked by guys that worked for Image.
Nice.
But they didn't really get credits. So.
Well, yeah, they didn't want to lose their job, I'm sure.
Yeah.
No, I was kind of ashamed of myself that I didn't know about this, and I found out about it because somebody, I believe, had tagged you in a Twitter post with a cover of Ben Numb, and that
really.
That was another one that had a multiple cover, and that one's spoofing on the McFarlane Spider-Man number 10 cover, where you have the original full color, and it's got the Venom logo, but instead of VENOM, it's VENUMB. And,
right. Yeah.
He's getting sprayed with a can of Raid, but then you also had the all silver cover. And
yeah.
I remember tracking down a couple of copies of that because that was the only McFarlane Spider-Man cover that I didn't have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's another one of those. I occasionally get into the mode where I look at my comic collection and see something that's not finished, and I'm like, I'm going to spend the next 6 months tracking down all the books I need for this.
That's cool. That's the fun part of collecting, man.
So I'll get a wild hair up my butt, and I'll go through and start going through. Oh man, I just realized I specifically didn't swear because Mr. Chin's on the show with us, Ayrton. What's happening?
Thank you.
I need more whiskey. But anyway, no, I would go through, and at that time I was trying to get the 1 through 13 McFarlane issues, right?
Oh yeah.
And
I like McFarlane.
Yeah, he did things to Spider-Man's art that just kind of set the genre for the next 15 years.
Yeah,
they're doing that character dirty. I mean, McFarlane really loves Spider-Man, and you can see the influence of Spider-Man and Venom on Spawn. But anyway, I'm getting beside myself. But that was where I first learned about Parody Press, and I started looking into it. And it really, because I knew Parody Press was a thing, but I thought it was in the sense of, the Hamsters are kind of a parody on the Turtles. I didn't know that there was a direct, because I feel like that's way more than necessary shifted from the source material, right? Like you're not just making a samurai turtle book. The race of your character, the genome of your characters are different. The makeup of the party is different, even though it has just as many members. The dynamics aren't nearly the same. And, it is its own story, even if it is an homage to the Turtles. It's more of an homage than a direct parody or satire.
We always people say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So a lot of the things that we spoofed were titles that we enjoyed. For the most part, all of our creative team we were all in on the joke, and I'm hoping that the people that actually created the real books would look at them and have a good chuckle at our expense and not take us too seriously. And I'm thinking because we didn't get sued that much, that was the case.
That much.
Like Saturday Night Live, they don't get sued, but they do some pretty wild stuff.
Well,
now
go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm looking at one that I have so many questions about.
Go
The
ahead. Which
Death
one?
of Stupid Man.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good one. Yeah, that was about done. That a lot of times we would see, reading the Diamond Comics previews magazine, what was coming down the pike, and if we could get our ducks in a row quick enough, we could actually come out with the book almost like the same month. Like the Death of Stupid Man, we actually did like a bagged version similar to like what DC did with mysterious, you don't know what's inside, and just kind of this funeral type tone. So they milked that whole storyline for months. So we did our own take on that, and it was there. I see the cover now.
Now here, the description says numerous heroes from DC, Marvel, and Image make cameos. Is that true?
Yeah. I think I have to bring out that copy again. I haven't read it in a while, but yeah, I think Bill Mouse, he would just kind of throw in the kitchen sink on that. He'd be a good guy for you guys to interview. He's really nice, and I haven't talked to him in ages, although we do communicate on Facebook. But he was prolific. I mean, he would be drawing like 2 to 3 books a month. He was quite prolific and really a good artist, very McFarlane-esque to begin with, but then he kind of took on his own style, and his own. He did a lot of superhero titles, like we did Zen, Intergalactic Ninja together, and then his spinoff. Was Nera X was his own character that he did.
On the second cover 1B, you can see the classic showdown scene between Stupid Man and, I'm not sure what your Doomsday guy's name was, but he has a chicken leg, a Cheerio, an M&M. It looks like a screw.
Yeah, I think we called him Gloomsday, and he was primarily made of oatmeal.
Okay. All right. I like just how that just rolls off. Yeah, that was the idea. Oatmeal bad guy. Okay. I love it. I love it so much. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, we did all sorts of Stupid Man, Burial for a Buddy. Those are covers you can come up with, and we did probably 7 or 8 different Stupid Man books, and DC never sent us a cease and desist. So
Stupid Man, rain on the Stupid Man.
Yeah, the whole 4 issues with
blank covers.
Like blank covers with kind of an embossed cardstock cover, and then when you open up the blank cardstock cover, we've got like a full color cover image on the inside, just like DC did. DC did the exact same thing, and we would just basically mock their whole packaging. It was a challenge. It was fun, but it was I think the one that I liked the best was I think the Shadowhawk one that you showed earlier. That was, a lot of people said, "Oh, we picked it up and we thought we were buying the Image book,"
Mightily Murdered Power Ringers.
Yes. I have that one in my right here in front of me, actually. Tatsuya Ishida actually drew a lot of stuff for us, and he went on after Parody Press. He did some work for Dark Horse, like G.I. Joe and Godzilla, but he's more known right now to people for an online webcomic called Sinfest, which I think Dark Horse collected. So we published his first work, and he went on to big things. He's kind of reclusive. I haven't talked to him in a while. I don't think he really has a social media presence, but he drew a lot of our Parody Press titles too. We did like Pet Works instead of Wet Works. He drew that one with me. I wrote that one. So it was basically Image's Wet Works Mercenaries, but they were dogs. Pet Works.
That's a Sinfest panel up on the screen for those of you who aren't familiar. There are some very interesting themes and dynamics in that webcomic. It's one that I followed probably for about, I don't know, probably 5-6 years, and I think
Wow.
it may still be going.
I think so. I haven't been to his website, but
But yeah,
yeah.
I didn't follow it for that long, but I went back and I read the backlog when I started reading it, and it was at least 3 or 4 years deep then.
Yeah.
So,
Anyways, yeah, Tatsuya was super talented. I could tell when I first got his, packet of submissions. That's how it works. You become a semi well established publisher, and then when you go to conventions, people will want to show you their portfolios, or they'll send you samples of their artwork, and then you just kind of think about it, and you think about, oh, I got a project coming up, and this guy seems like he would be a good artist on it. So then you just hope for the best and give them a deadline and kind of crack the whip to make sure they hit that deadline. And then you go to press, and hopefully there's a little cash in your pocket after the day is done.
yeah. Now, when you went into publishing, you were still associated with Parody Press, or Parody Press was how did all that work? I'm not familiar.
Okay, so backtracking, after Cracked, we did the Hamsters in '86, and that was an interesting one because I had met Eclipse Comics publishers, Kat Ironwood and Dean Mullaney, at conventions when we were doing Overload. My friends and I would go down to like creation cons down in the Bay Area to promote Overload, and we would meet these professional publishers and just kind of strike up conversations with them. So I met them before I got published professionally at these conventions, and it just so happened that Eclipse, which turned out to be a fairly big, independent publisher in the '80s, they actually weren't that far. They didn't live that far away from where I live in Northern California. They may be like a 3-hour drive, and they lived kind of up in the redwoods in this really small town, and they were publishing their comic books out of this very small town in Northern California. So we kind of had that connection going at the time. And so when Parsonovich and I did the Hamsters book, he drew pretty much a 30-page story, and we didn't have a publisher. And I thought, if I can't find a publisher, then I'll go ahead and publish this myself and see what happens. But it just so happened that we sent copies of the work of Hamsters 1 to Eclipse, and they said, yeah, we kind of like this. We think it's funny, but we'll help you distribute it and you print it. So we'll basically be kind of co-publishing it. You'll get a bigger cut, but I think they thought it might have been a little risky. So they didn't want to completely go in 100%, or maybe they didn't want to get sued. I don't know. But anyways, so they said,
we understand
yeah, let's go. So they said, let's go ahead and solicit this to the different distributors that we have and see what happens. And so after they did that, it was the height of the Turtles craze, and they got like 70,000 orders, which at the time for a black and white comic book by two unknown guys was like, even their best-selling books were probably selling less than half of that. So when they got the Hamsters orders back, they basically said, we want to publish this regularly. So after issue 2, it became a full-fledged Eclipse.
How much did you get off the first issue?
Gosh, I probably made like close to $40,000 to $50,000.
Okay.
When I off the profit on that, which wasn't too bad for a college kid.
Now,
that was in the 80s too. So,
oh yeah.
So it was enough to put a down payment on a house. So that was nice.
Well, I mean, just now, $5 comics are shipping less than 200,000 units to retailers around the world. So your book, if you made that kind of money on it, that means it. And I'm guessing, what year was this? 90 or 80s? What?
86.
So you were already above $1 on the price tag.
Right. Yeah. It was good. It was good. It was a good.
For you to make that kind of money, you probably had to ship 200,000 units.
No, the print run was like, I think the cover price was like $1.50 or $2, and then the distributor takes a cut, and Eclipse took a small cut for kind of being our distribution middleman.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was actually here in my hometown with these huge boxes of comics, shipping them out. So I had to arrange all the printing and all the color separations and all the stuff. And I just remember just loading box after box, into UPS trucks down at the printer, because Eclipse just, they would basically say, you got to send these books to this person by this date. And so publishing is, it's pretty hands-on. But after I got done doing that book, I just kind of let Eclipse take it over, and they had their own printers. And so I didn't have to get my hands quite as dirty as I did on the first issue.
So, well, that actually sounds very similar to what, your modern day indie comics on like Indiegogo or something like that will deal with. Your Comicsgate guys, having to,
right,
having to ship out thousands of books. Now, obviously it's not, 50, 70,000 copies sometimes. I wonder, let me see if I can look this up. Let's look up, I think we can all pretty much agree that Cyberfrog, probably the most successful Indiegogo comic of all time right now. So let's look up Cyberfrog. Frog. So Cyberfrog Blood Honey, the original campaign. Let's see. Come on. What the hell?
Did you guys get your copy of that? I got mine like about a month.
I did.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Oh yeah. We actually did a review of it on
excited.
the show. I couldn't pronounce any of the names in it, so Ethan Van Sciver was giving me a hard time in the chat.
Okay.
Where's that? I gotta find the original campaign. He'd done a bunch of second chance and variant cover campaigns, so I have to find the first one to kind of get an idea about numbers.
My wife just texted me and said we had an earthquake while I was being interviewed by you guys. I didn't feel it.
I'm glad our show is that world impacting. So I'm guessing on a conservative estimate, 10,000 to 15,000 books he's had to ship out based on the first campaign. Almost 9,000 backers, 8,566 backers on the first campaign. Second campaign was a little bit lower, well, a lot lower, I guess. For the variant cover, there was 2,000 on that one, so that's 10 right there. Team up cover was another 5,000, so yeah, that's 15,000 right there. The limited line art variants, which is what Ayrton got, was another 1,000. So we're up to 16,000 right now. Chromium covers, another 1,000. We'll call it 500 because you could get ash cans that you might have missed out on. So, just to be fair, we'll say 18,000 books.
Yeah.
And that's a lot.
You did
to deal
really
with.
well.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, that is. My book was, it was before all the crowdfunding stuff happened. So we would just send, boxes of the same issue to maybe, 30 distribution points all across the United States. Whereas Ethan, if I understand correctly, with all the different variants, he's got to send them out individually or have some kind of service.
Yeah.
So that's that's very labor intensive. I mean, I'm more power to you if you can make a living doing that, but that would be pretty monotonous in
Well,
my opinion.
there were time-lapse videos of these creators who would sit down and start signing, and they would sign for, almost complete 8-hour shift just doing signatures and head sketches in books.
Wow.
And that's the price of doing business, I guess, and succeeding. We're currently waiting on a book called Monster MD, and that's going to have to get 2 signatures across the state line. So that's going to be an experiment in patience.
Definitely.
But when you're looking at these kind of numbers, like, how do you? I guess the question is, do you wish you had been privy to these options back in the day when you were doing the hamsters? Do you think anything would have worked out differently, or
yeah?
Do you think that maybe you had maybe you kind of had a leg up being a veteran of the game coming up and seeing it evolve into what it has? What the dichotomy there?
Yeah, it would. It was. You mentioned kind of Diamond being the bane of a lot of comic book stores, and it's tough because I know they're a lot stricter on what they will distribute now. I mean, we had sent them some parodies that we thought they would distribute. That was probably after Parody Press had kind of done its run. We were still kind of just thinking about doing a few hit and miss, but then we would send our packets in, and they would turn them down. So I could see where if you don't have that arm anymore to distribute your books, it's really difficult to find people to do it. And back in the day, the internet wasn't as prevalent as it is now, where you can use it to market so easily and so inexpensively. So you've got like Galactic Rodents. That to me, that's a great story. I don't know where it's at, or did he make his funding and he's going to press? Or
yeah, let's pull that up. We look to have Gilbert Deltrez back on the show pretty soon, so let's look up Galactic Rodents of Mayhem.
I know I got an email update from the campaign a little bit ago.
Oh no, he made his funding. That was well.
Yeah.
He's at $24,050. Let me pull it up on the thing there. So $24,050 for 386 backers. Everything seems to be full sail ahead. Gilbert has a history of fulfilling his campaigns. Now we've got just a few minutes left, unless you're up for a little longer. I know I told you an hour to begin with. If you're up for it, we can go a little longer. If not, I can let you peace out whenever you need to. But I did have one thing that I wanted to bring up. It's a little more controversial. But if you're looking at the screen right now, I do have Grom pulled up. There's some of the artwork, the finished pages for that campaign. That's their airship. The characters themselves in suits. It's a 3-character team. Bash, Ripple, and Mona Lisa. They are capybaras, which are basically giant gerbils. But
it looks a good looking book. I mean, I think his artwork is really, really sharp.
Yeah, the artwork in the book is really good. The coloring is really nice. The first little bit of the story that we were given was really captivating as well. It actually gets you into the storyline. But several tiers are already sold out. There's still the availability to get the book or the digital book. You can get a collector's edition copy with the soundtrack, all that good stuff. But a lot of the like the headshot pack, the director's cut, and the Dark King cameo are all sold out. So
wow. That's a cool option. I mean, my time with the hamsters, it's probably past to do crowdsource, books like this because of Dynamite's relationship with me. But I don't know yet whether or not Ethan's Cyberfrog Hamsters book will be, whether it'll be like an all caps title or if it'll be a combo with Dynamite, or if he's doing, sort of the same thing he's done with his other Cyberfrog books for this one. So I'm not. Well, at this point in time, I don't really know what the plan is.
Well, he seems to have a really good relationship with Dynamite. He's done some work with their Vampirella covers, with Cyberfrog team up covers that he sold on Indiegogo. So, I mean, if it's something that interests you, I mean, the old saying is it never hurts to ask. It might be something to explore in the future. I would certainly, that would be the second campaign that I would be the #1 backer on as soon as I found out what was happening.
I don't know. I would definitely be racing you for that one.
I would go through Michigan. I would find you and steal your iPad. And I would make sure you were the #2 backer, but there can be only one #1, and it would be me, sir.
There can be only one. It's like Mortal Kombat with hamsters.
You are not prepared to put your body through the torment that I am to stay up for a week straight to make sure that I am awake and alert as soon as the campaign goes live. I would have 4 computers around me, auto-refreshing all the time. Hire some people on Fiverr.
and you do have my address. So.
I do. I can come find you. You have mine too, though. So I mean,
Yeah.
But anyway,
mutually assured destruction.
That is correct. But there's a more of a little bit of a controversial topic. Nothing that you were involved in or that has anything to do with the hamsters. But something that's recently taken place in the Comicsgate community, and from the outside looking in, I think it's the it's what's the word I'm looking for? The cautionary tale of crowdfunding, right? There was a creator that I, out of respect, will not name. Everyone who is familiar with the situation knows who he is. But he crowdfunded a book for the tune of almost $40,000. And then by the time it came to start fulfilling the book, the money was gone. They were called out and all of that stuff, but the problem is with Indiegogo's terms of service, it says when you check out, you are not buying a product, you are supporting the idea of that product being made. So if it doesn't deliver, basically, the creator isn't necessarily liable. Now, there have been some questions of that because there is a clause for misappropriation of funds. It would require a lot of money legally to fight. And, there have been excuses and attempts at redemption made by this creator. But, what are your thoughts on a situation of that nature? Or, did you experience anything of that nature where you as a publisher had invested, time and money into a project and it just fell through? Or, as a creator, did you, write a script that never got produced because of an artist? Like, have you had any experience with that? What are your thoughts on that, etc.?
Yeah, I can see where not fulfilling your obligation and taking the money and running is that's really, I would never do that, and I would feel really bad about people that got ripped off that way. When we did Parody Press, a lot of the big mainstream publishers, they had like a per page rate. And so if you were going to be a writer or an inker or a penciler, you basically knew up front, I'm going to get paid this. And I don't think they did any profit sharing, as far as I know, unless it was a creator owned title, But on Parody Press and the other, we had a sister company that did superhero comic books, and that was the Entity Comic Books brand. And maybe someday we can visit those titles because we did a lot of superhero and sci-fi type books as well, like Stargate was one of the titles that we did. But anyways, with Parody Press, the way that we had set it up, it was a profit sharing tier that we created, and it was kind of unique at the time. And basically, if the book got published and there was going to be a profit to be made, everybody knew up front with the contract that this is what I'm going to get. So there was no minimum wage scale. You weren't guaranteed anything, but when it was all said and done with the print runs that we had, everybody made what I felt was a fair wage on the comic book title. So we didn't really have that type of scenario playing, that you're talking about. People just kind of took that risk. If someone knew they were going to create a script and do the artwork, and for some reason the orders came in and they weren't enough to go to press, we just kind of all had to eat it. And I've actually got a couple of books that Bill and I did that never saw the light of day. One of them was actually a Clint one-shot where he destroys all these various 90s companies' characters, whether it be Valiant or there was I think there was even like a company that Leonard Nimoy invested in called
it makes
Prime.
It makes
Primordials was his. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, Primordials. I've got a full run of Primordials that was published.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
It's
the dinosaur book.
In the 90s, Jim Shooter left Marvel and he started Valiant, and he just created all these different spin-off heroes from Valiant. But so Clint went and destroyed, the Dark Horse, Valiant, whatever, like adjective upon adjective universe. And so he just basically goes on this rant. That might be something that we crowdfund. I'll have to talk to Dynamite, because we've got artwork to it. It's just a little dated because all these heroes are like from the 90s. They're not like recent.
No, that's
heroes,
perfect.
But, nothing wrong with that.
I actually I can reach out to a guy that did something very similar, and we reviewed his book live on air. And there's something almost, I don't know, intimate about a book done like that, because he updated a few things in the book, but for the most part, he left the art the way it was, and you could literally see the evolution of the artistic skill from book to book because of the kind of project that it was.
Wow, cool.
That was Flying Fortress by Mr. Eric Weathers, who letters everything.
Nice. Well, I'll see what I can do in that regard. But, I don't know if that will ever see print, but it's actually here in my den with all my other collectibles, and maybe someday me and Bill can be on and talk about Parody Press again, or hamsters. He did some hamsters projects with me.
Nice.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think I probably have another 5 or 10 minutes left, guys. If you have anything else you want to ask about, or
most of the questions I have are stuff you can't answer yet.
Well, I could. When did I start to talk to you guys? Was it in like 2000? It was just last year, or did we start corresponding earlier than that?
Yeah, it was last year, summer, or like beginning of summer, I think.
Okay.
We first started. Yeah.
So for some roundabout reason, I don't know how Ethan Van Sciver came into our convo, but I know I knew Ethan because he, back when Hamsters was being done, is like when Cyberfrog was being, was popular. He was doing that for Harris Comics, and he was joint friends with some of the guys that were doing work for Entity Comics. I think Matt Martin and Trent Kanuga were two of his friends, and they turned me on to Ethan. They said, yeah, we've got this friend named Ethan. He's a really good artist. And so Ethan drew he did a skunk cover for us. If you go online and you look up the skunk, which was kind of our parody on the Tick, he just had superhero farting powers. We did about 6 issues of the Tick. That was Bill Mouse's brainchild, but he did a variant cover of the Skunk number. Gosh, it was either issue number 5 or issue number 3, but it's an awesome cover. It's like it. I don't even know if it has a logo on it. It's a very image intensive comic book cover, but he did a variant cover for us, and I think that was the only thing Ethan did for us at the time. But I was really impressed. He was super busy, but so I think I might have met him at a convention here and there, but I wasn't really that close. But for some reason, you guys had some influence on the Cyberfrog thing, because I think maybe you had mentioned how the crowdfunding for the Cyberfrog was just going through the roof, and I had talked to Ethan. Though I think I called him back in 2018, because that's when that artist on Twitter, I think, had brought up the whole Hamsters project.
Right.
And so Cyberfrog was just, I know it had been solicited, and he was going to, publish it last year. And I called him. I was down in San Francisco watching like some professional baseball games. And so I reached out to Ethan, I think on Twitter, and I said, what do you think about a Hamsters Cyberfrog crossover? And we talked for like an hour and a half. And I just kind of left it at that. And then I just kind of figured he's not going to be able to do anything until Cyberfrog is done. And he was really late on Cyberfrog getting it out. And so now, and then when that tweet came out, my jaw just dropped, because I thought, oh, this thing's not going anywhere. And then I get this tweet, and I see this guy that he found with these amazing hamster sketches. I just went, wow. So it was just about as much of a surprise to me as it is to you guys.
Oh, you
because I know last time you were on, we, we kind of jokingly had mentioned you trying to bring that stuff back through the crowdfunding thing. But yeah, when I saw that you tagged us in a tweet, I was like, oh, I thought it was maybe another fan art or something that you tag us in all the time, which I love, by the way, when you tag us and stuff like that.
Thank you.
And then I watched the video. I was just like same thing. My jaw just dropped. I was like, my week has been made. This is the greatest thing that happened all week.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's all in its very, very early planning stages, but I trust Ethan. I mean, there's his artwork and packaging, and just it's totally. The hamsters have never been done in a full color project other than just one Eclipse issue, which was Target Airboy, which is basically people think that's basically the wrap up to the hamster series. Is hamsters 1 through 9, and then Target Airboy was kind of the last book that we did.
The new hamsters were the ones done in color by Dynamite.
Right, that's in 2007.
Yeah.
And then it was just been a lull for over a decade. So I guess they're going to be revived, and hopefully that'll be a Kickstarter to do more books with them.
Now, before
I'm still holding out for a live action movie.
I know. You never know. You never know. I mean, Dynamite has a lot of connections. They, the boys is based on their, that the Amazon Prime series.
Oh yeah,
that's one of the titles. So
yeah, we reviewed a couple of volumes of the boys on air. It was difficult because there were a lot of pages I couldn't show on YouTube.
Yeah, I hear that's a little bit for the mature audience title, but I totally like Nick a lot. The publisher, Nick Barucci, he's a busy guy, and he's got a lot of irons in the fire. But he reached out to me and said, I really want to bring the hamsters back, and I was totally excited, and he did a really good job. I mean, the artwork and packaging of the first series was pretty good.
Gulf City Cult of Krill in the chat says, Gospel of Comics. This is very interesting. Tell Don Chen thanks for me. So,
Oh, thank you. What was that person's name?
Gulf City Cult of Krill.
Gulf City. Hey, Gulf City.
But
Is that like Gulf City? Is that Louisiana? Is that like a nickname for?
there's
I don't know.
There's some internet lore around Gulf City. All hail Blue Whale. Um, there's some internet lore behind that. It would take entirely too long to explain.
Okay. Another day.
Now, before you go, I do want to toot mine and Ayrton's horn just a little bit. And if you're looking at the YouTube show itself, up on screen, we made it into a comic book. We actually made it into a Knuckle Slipper Studio production. We have an advertisement, and I believe book 2 of their I don't know, their little 3-issue series, and we have an advertisement near the end of the book. So my goal has been completed. We've made it into a book. Now my second goal is to make it into a hamster's book. So I'm talking to you, Dynamite Comics. DM me. I'll talk about page rates for advertisements. I can make like one of those mock pages where it's just fake ads for crappy mail-in products. X-ray specs. And, yeah, paper soldiers and all that stuff. The big
X-ray shoes.
Oh yes.
Then we can send a pair to Rob Liefeld so he can learn how to draw feet.
We love Rob Liefeld, Ayrton. What are you talking about? We're totally never mean to Rob Liefeld on this show. At least around Mr. Chen. We don't want him associated with that. We don't want Mr.
Rob is a nice guy, even if he doesn't draw feet. He's really nice.
Yeah.
Rob has me blocked on Twitter, so I'm steadfast.
Oh, really?
I'm steadfast sticking with the fact that he's a goober, but he's not a bad guy. He's just a goober.
That's funny.
But no, man, I definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much for giving us some time to talk about Parody Press. We definitely look forward to talking about Entity Comics. I see the Intergalactic Zen Ninja.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's going to take up a short box in my closet. I'm pretty sure. But until next time, sir, thank you again, and hopefully next time we will have some more information on a potential crossover, and we definitely appreciate it. Thank you. Is there anything you want to promote or anything? Real Don Chen on Twitter, if you guys want to follow. He has the best hamster posting.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure as always. Hope all's well with yours and your families, and stay safe and wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Oh, do you want to weigh in on Corona Chan before you go?
I think it's a lot. It's a lot of media hype, and I'm not worried about it.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's definitely a take. We disagree on that one, but it's cool. I'm just over here running the show in a respirator. You know, I'm fine. No, seriously. I do think that there is some fear mongering behind it, but I think the way that the media is starting to try and downplay it may mean that it ends up being something that they can't contain as well as they thought they could. I don't think we're looking at half the population of the planet dying off or anything, but even if it does maintain a death rate of 3.4 with the way that it's spreading, it's going to be the most impactful thing of our generation, I think. I think it's just generations like 9/11. It's going to be in the history book.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely don't want to seem like I'm not sympathetic to those who are sick. So
no, that's not that's not. I just think that it's definitely more than the media is trying to let on than they are now. I think that when they were trying to downplay it as the flu is worse, they weren't taking into account the spreadability of this stuff, because it can be spread while it's symptomless. But I'm I'm a little paranoid about it, but we'll see. Give it another 2 weeks, and if it's as bad as I think it is, there will be upwards of 10,000 cases in the U.S. confirmed. So, like I said, it's a waiting game at this point to see how bad it gets.
Well, that's why I told Ayrton we need to create the antibacterial comic book bags.
Made in the U.S. Made in the U.S.
That's right. China.
Ruthless 2020. Vote Trump. Anyway, have a good one, man. We will.
All right, guys.
We'll
have a
talk to
good
you
night.
next time.
And we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right, buddy. Later.
See ya. Thanks, man.
That was a lot of fun. I was a little embarrassed that I didn't know any more about Parody Press than I did when we discovered it on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm definitely. That was no joke. If I get a decent enough tax return and don't need to do any more too major fixes on my car, I'm totally buying a handful of these if I can find them.
I actually got a confirmation today that I have an Alterna order on the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I need to do an Alterna order.
I got some dinged and dented books, some misprints.
Huh. Oh, nice.
Remember that
when I was down in the.
Oh, go ahead.
When I was down in the city the other night. We went into it's kind of like a college town city.
Yeah.
So there's a pretty big comic book store there, and we went into it, and it's actually two story. So the top is like your standard comic book store, whatever. But underneath is 20 foot long wall just full of back issue long boxes, triple stacked, and then they had a quarter and dollar boxes actually.
Yeah.
And yeah, I dug through there. I found one Alterna comic in there. I don't remember the title, but I bought it just because it was Alterna, and you know, Peter is a national treasure.
He is.
But man, you could probably spend a good 8 hours knowing you trying to dig through all of those boxes, completing stuff you've been trying to find.
Well, you know how there's like speed readers out there?
Yeah.
I'm kind of like a, going into to long boxes. I'm kind of a speed reader in that sense.
Gotcha.
Can I just say
gotten
that
faster.
I'm a little pissed off. Spawn is trending on Twitter, but only because of Mortal Kombat. I was gonna bring it up, but Spawn's in Mortal Kombat, y'all. If you play that garbage, have a Joker versus Spawn battle and tell me how it is. Have a good one, Cartoon. Appreciate you coming out, buddy. Anyway, now that our guest has departed, now we can fangirl out about Cyberfrog and the hamsters. So, what are your initial thoughts on it? I'm going to pull the tweet back up.
Yeah.
And kind of go through the responses. What are your thoughts?
I would say, as far as any possible crossover that they could do with the hamsters, Cyberfrog has to be like the perfect one to do it with.
I'm telling you, it's Grom, but I'm good with Cyberfrog as well.
Yeah, Grom seems to be a little bit more serious of a story though than Cyberfrog is. Cyberfrog is still kind of goofy, so I think they.
Do you not understand that Cyberfrog? Like, have you read Cyberfrog yet? It literally ended in an apocalypse.
I know, but it was still kind of goofy, like the dialogue. And you can have a goofy apocalypse. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you look at the premise of it, and like the character interactions, and how Cyberfrog talks, like some New York hoodlum, it's. I think they will. It's a good mesh.
Well,
versus the large like sci-fi of Grom.
we actually have a photo here of some of the characters on a blow up. Let me see if I can. Oh, we have some videos of the drawings. Let's look at those. We'll pull that up. There we go. We've got some pencilings going on here. I know these are time lapse, but the fact that he's doing this with a pencil, like, oh man.
Yeah.
You just don't see classic art anymore. Some artists you do, but for the most part, like, it's all digital these days, and this is one of the projects that I'll buy an original art tier on. You know, normally I'm strictly just the book and the stretch goals kind of guy, but something like this, because I love both of these properties so much, and you know of what it means to me as a, I mean, because this book is literally like the entire last year of us streaming, right?
Right.
I mean, this encapsulates two of the biggest shows we've ever done. I mean, the show with Poe was pretty big, but before that, it was Don Chen and Ethan Van Sciver. And Ethan Van Sciver wasn't even on the show; he was just in the chat, and people followed him in to watch him, you know, degrade us because we couldn't pronounce anything correctly. Here's another.
I remember me making fun of you for not being able to pronounce it, and he was actually pretty nice about it.
Look,
I could be wrong on that.
He was pretty nice about it, but I could feel him judging me. But yeah, I would empty my bank account for these pages that he's drawing right now. I would put them in frames. I would put them in frames and look at them in the dark because my power would go out.
Light candles.
Oh, this is a 49-minute stream. We're not going to watch all of this. Oh man, apparently he just does streams. This is back in 2018. Oh god, okay.
Oh wow.
All right, let's look at this. So, in September of 2018, before we even started doing the show, he had started doing like concept art for this book. And it does not have the love that it deserves. So what's going to happen right now is I'm going to go on my actual account and I'm going to upvote all of this because it's like an entire moment.
Right.
Let's look at this. Wait, why? Oh, okay, there we go. I'm gonna retweet all of this. Just follow me on @ChurchFailure, and you will see there are videos for all of these character scenes. You might get kind of a oh man. As soon as I get done with all this overtime bullshit I'm doing for work, I'm gonna dig into these and pull everything I can out of it and talk about it on a show for like 3 hours.
You know, we still have to do the Richard C. Meyer stream though.
That one's gonna be a little bit tough. I'm not gonna lie because there's a lot of Ricada stuff to clip through. I may see if I can get some help with that one, but
if I knew how to do it,
I'm
I would help you.
I'm also following EJ Morgus from Press Oblivion. That's at EJMORGES on Twitter. He is the guy who seems to be doing a lot of the artwork. So I will be digging into that, and we will be looking at that in the future. But oh man, I'm so excited right now.
I know.
I can't contain myself. I need this book yesterday. Like, what are we doing?
And I love how he immediately thought to tag us in a tweet about it. Like,
he knows what's up.
Yeah. Like, okay, you guys,
get ready. Prepare your back holes. Prepare your backers. So, I guess we got about 10 more minutes. What do you want to see out of an ARBBH Cyberfrog team up?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go a little cliche, but I think it would be hilarious.
Anybody still watching in the chat? Jump in the way, or actually, let's go over to Discord. What are we doing? I'm going over to Discord. Going over to Discord.
I'll see you over there in a sec.
We'll take some callers for the last of the show.
Okay.
All right. I'm out of Skype. Skype's done. I'm back in Discord. I'm in the show chat. I guess I should denote that some way or another. Let's see here. File. Open. There we go.
Okay.
Hold on. Don't interrupt. You don't know what's going on.
No, I don't.
You have no clue. All right, I feel better now. Yeah, if anybody wants to call in and talk about this with us in the last few minutes of the show, feel free to. But go ahead, tell me what you're looking for out of a Cyberfrog ARBBH team up.
Well, broadly speaking, I just want ridiculous, over-the-top action. Maybe a second blowing up of the Statue of Liberty as a nice little Easter egg. But I want to go. I'm going to go cliche, and I think the initial meeting, kind of like your stereotypical. You know, they clash when they first meet. They think they're enemies of each other, and they start fighting, and then they bond over something stupid like fried chicken.
It should definitely be fried chicken.
Yeah, like Clint pulls a bucket of fried chicken like out of a backpack out of nowhere, and starts eating it during the fight, and then they start bonding that way. And then decide to team up to fight the Vizpiz.
Right.
That's how I would like to see it.
Seems good. For me, I mean, it's going to be after the Vizpiz invasion. I'd like to kind of see a little like background of how the hamsters ended up surviving. Because
I don't care. I just want them to just be there. I don't want to have any backstory to how they survived.
I want to know how they survived, because let's be honest, their survivability on a timeline of any size is pretty bad. Like, they gonna die. But, or if they're playing it straight, which I'll be fine with, but it's not really normal for the hamsters to be played completely straight. So the fact that Cyberfrog is, I think, will be an interesting dichotomy to the story that they'll be telling as a team, or as a set of adversaries or whatever.
Right.
So, but I mean, all in all,
unless the way they survived is something really like stupid.
Now, who do you
I think they should just be there.
Now, would you rather this be a Dynamite book that you could order to your local store, or would you rather this be a Comicsgate book?
You know, I'm torn.
It'd be like cheaper if it was a Dynamite book, but it'd be supporting the community if it was a Comicsgate book.
Right. Like the cost, I don't care if the whole thing was like, if it was like a $35 like just base book, or even $45, I would probably still back it.
Yeah.
So the cost isn't what I'm taking into consideration. What I'm thinking about is, if it's released under Dynamite, then you have a greater potential for more people to see it, and because of the ridiculous nature of it, maybe even people that aren't as attuned to like the whole Comicsgate thing, like you're more casual comic book readers or whatever see it in their local shop, they might be more inclined to read it, and that could spread Cyberfrog, and they're going to be like, oh, is there more of this? And then they'll find Blood Honey and Wrecked Planet and stuff, and kind of grow this new side of the industry. But at the same time, I would love it to be a Comicsgate all caps exclusive, just out of that more just selfishness, I guess. I would just like it to be like kind of in our community that we're a part of, but I would really, really enjoy being able to see a project like this, as ridiculous as it is, get a more widespread attention to it. So I'm kind of torn between the two.
Well, I actually disagree with your first point that it being released by Dynamite would get more eyes on it. It may get it into more comic stores, but I don't know that there are more comic buyers at retail stores than there are people that follow the CG hashtag and the indie comic hashtag. I honestly don't. I would be surprised if there were, because I think 5 years ago it was anticipated that there are barely still 1 million comic readers nationwide. That's less than 0.3% of the population, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I think that with the kind of Twitter followings that CG guys have, with the kind of visibility that these projects get to, with the fact that the fan base is as rabid as it is and will share this stuff on their personal Facebooks and talk about it with their friends and share it around communities that it might not get seen in. I honestly think that it's getting to a point where CG is actually a bigger audience in the mainstream comic industry.
But at the same time, we've been talking, for the past at least 6 months about, what's kind of that next step to the Indiegogo scene, and this could be something that's the next step. Get it into a more get these projects into a more broadly distributed kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like system, versus just if you miss the campaign, that's it. You can't get it anymore. But if a crossover like this turns out to even be moderately successful, distributed through Dynamite, then there's a chance that could open doors for these other popular projects that people might have missed out on, to be able to actually get into stores, and people that came to it late, like Jawbreakers, for example, could eventually go to like a print run for stores where anybody could buy it.
Well,
I see how it could open some doors for the Comicsgate movement.
Let me look at the best-selling Dynamite comic book of January in 2020. Okay.
Okay.
Once you scroll down far enough to find the first Dynamite comic book on the list, and this isn't a shot at Dynamite by any means. I love Dynamite comics. I own several. I'm still working on my full run of single issue The Boys. But Dynamite Comics comes in at number 86 of the top comics sold in January of 2020. That was Red Sonja, Age of Chaos. Now, Red Sonja is a well-established character that has had a ongoing print run pretty much since her inception. Dynamite has done a very good job of keeping her visibility up and keeping her in. Oh, really? What, Dillard Draws? What are you at? Get in the damn chat. Get in the waiting room. Where the fuck are you?
Damn it,
Dillard.
Dillard.
Get in here.
Don't just sit there and talk shit in the chat.
Yeah,
Get in the call.
get in your fucking waiting room. Let me drag you into this call. And oh, really? Me? In fact, didn't you offer to debate somebody after? Debate me. Debate me about Rob Liefeld's
Yeah,
feet.
he was going to debate you about something.
Well, no, he said he wanted to debate somebody, and I said I'd debate him. I think I scared.
I thought
your
it
daughter.
was about something specific from yesterday.
I have no idea. I was entirely too gone on Irish whiskey. It's St. Patrick's month.
Good point. Oh, I need to get some more of that
Stout edition?
cask. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought 2 bottles of that.
That's.
Matt's laughing.
I wish you hadn't have told me how good it was.
I always tell you about good whiskey. Where are
I know.
you, Dillard?
And I hate you for it every time.
Where are you at? I don't even see you in the Discord right now. Why are you being so?
It's even online.
No.
Dillard, what the hell?
I don't see it. Get in here, Dillard. I actually was giving you some accolades earlier. Somebody was asking me where they should go to shill their book. I said, John Dillard's got a pretty fun show where he does some drawing. I don't know how well he would promote you, but you would get on with that guy pretty well. He can put up with a Canadian. He can definitely put up with an Irishman. We love you, Rick Piper.
The Irish are easier.
We love you,
But
Rick
Canada
Piper.
is a silly place.
Canada is a silly place. Matt Christie. This guy's drunker than hell. I'm not drunker than hell. I've had 1 glass of Irish whiskey on this show. I'm just being an obnoxious asshole because that's kind of my gig. Ayrton knows when I get drunk. He would just tell me to close the show down. He's heard
We're
me
getting
drunk.
close.
Huh?
I said we're getting close.
Well, that's because you're tired, not because I'm drunk. I've been much drunker than
I'm not-
this.
I'm not as tired as I normally am by the end of the show.
Yes, but I'm not as drunk as I normally am either.
That's true. Me either.
I'll shill anyone who isn't a dick. Well, that definitely falls into the category.
Well,
Archetype Comics is not a dick, per se. He has one, but he isn't a dick. Anyway, get in the waiting room, Dillard. What are you doing? We want to talk to you about Cyberfrog and adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters. Get in the waiting room. Where are you at?
exactly, Matt.
That's
Matt's
correct.
calling you out.
Look, I've had 1 tumbler of Elijah Craig sized glass, which was maybe 3.5 fingers. Fucking judge me. Not as bad of an alcoholic as I play on TV.
You're on your way to an Emmy for that role.
I'm sleeping. I'm just
You're Daniel Day-Lewising.
All right. Well, I guess that means you'll have to come on later.
Well, shit quietly.
Anyway, we'll give you a pass this time, Dillard. Why didn't Dillard have a wrench yet?
I don't know.
There you go. Dillard has a wrench.
I'll debate you on any subject. All right, Godzilla versus King Kong.
I'm on King Kong's side. I think he'll lose, but I'm debating for King Kong.
I've also seen another debate. What is it? Grizzly bear versus a gorilla. Which one would win?
Grizzly bear has claws, but a gorilla is more agile.
And just the brute strength and opposable thumbs.
Well, I didn't have the 35 minutes to go into the backstory of Gulf City and Adonis Fall and Los Tejas and, the Kumite and all of that bullshit because I'd just end up ranting about Donga. I'll take King Kong and I'll win. Oh, that's all right, you're on. We'll do this on D Live.
So Radio Wednesday next Thursday will be the big debate.
No, we'll have to schedule out a time for when Dillard's off, but we'll do this. We'll set this up. Godzilla versus King Kong. I'll do my research. I'll get
I
my
wanna hear
talking
this.
points together. I will obliterate.
I'll
I will
moderate
bury
it.
you. I will fucking bury you. How are you going to moderate when
You're
I can
gonna
just
write
mute
1,000
anybody?
word. I don't know. You're gonna write 1,000-word essay.
Anyway, we are now officially over budget. Nobody called in. I'm disappointed in all of you, but I still love you. You're all afraid. It's okay. But anyway, I want to thank Gulf City Cult of Krill, Matt Christie, Dillard Draws, Cartoon, my co-host Ayrton McCartney, of course, Sethan for joining, Darb, and those were the only people in chat. But I definitely also want to thank everybody who liked, subscribed, shared the show, all that good stuff. I'll be pro Nambla and I'll still win. Yeah, you son of a bitch, you will not. Next thing you say, you'll debate and be pro vegan and win, motherfucker. I will bury you. You don't even understand. But I still love you, John. No homo. Anyway,
And then we'll get Novel Bro to chess box the loser.
that's right. It's a chess box the winner. What are you talking about? Debating is the criteria to get to the chess boxing stage.
Oh, I was just thinking kick the man while he's down.
No. The winner gets the chess box novel, bro. It's an honor.
I thought he would just, want to beat up the loser.
He probably would do that anyway, but the winner would actually get credit if he won. The loser still lost the debate. The winner of both would be a legend.
Okay.
I'm not chess boxing.
I see why.
Anyway, I appreciate everybody coming out. Had a really good time with Don Chen. Parody Press is interesting as shit. I don't know if the stories are that great, but the idea behind them are fantastic, and the covers will make you laugh no matter how many times you flip past them. Any final thoughts before we get the hell out of here?
I'm just so excited, and this project needs to be announced, and we need to know more about it, like AQAP.
AQAP? As quickly as
As
possible?
quickly as possible. Yeah.
It's
exactly.
ASAP if you're not a fucking communist. I knew I'd forgotten something in this show. I don't know how it slipped past me, but for some reason,
What?
I just forgot the shit out of it.
You're fired.
Damn it.
Just when you thought you were out, I pulled you back in. Anyway, you gotta get us out of here.
Oh, wait, I forgot my coat.
No coats. Confiscate their coats. Anyway, you gotta get us out of here. So,
All right. Good night, everybody.
thanks again, everybody. Have a good one.